skipping out. You should make that point.
I mean, it's pretty sketchy. Go. You know what they say: go on and take the money and run.
A lot we're going to cover on today's program. Which headline most intrigues you? Which headline most intrigues you?
I already told you.
I mean, give us a little more depth to it.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty wild that what I want to know. I don't think it's fully explained in the article, that at least the one that I read. It sounds like one of the people that are what's the word you call it? One of the people that's being sued sounds like they live downstream from where the apartments were going to be built on the Ravenna, and so we can kind of understand his his role in pushing back against the whole production, but the other guy I wasn't so sure about, and it sounds like he doubled and tripled down on his comments.
What's the matter with your mic?
It just went out. Now it's back on. But yeah, the other guy doubled, tripled down. I'm wondering what his. It sounds like there may have been a bit of where you point the finger at someone that's doing what you're actually doing, and it sounds like this guy may have been shifting some blame. I don't know. This guy's like.
All right, we're going to get succinct on the program when we cover this.
We'll try.
We're going to come shoot up. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. We're going to have fun today. Let's rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Make sure we're live on LinkedIn there, J-Dubs.
Yeah, I'm checking it out.
I don't think we're live on LinkedIn. Guys, good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. A lot we're going to cover on the program. You give me a thumbs up when LinkedIn is up and running. Viewers and listeners, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jerry Miller Now on YouTube. Search Jerry Miller Now. Seems to be the most consistent streaming platform of all the social media and streaming platforms we air upon. Today's show is loaded. The Wendell Wood, Bo Carrington, Justin Schimpf project on the banks of the Ravenna River is the gift that keeps on giving for a content creator and talk show host. And that gift keeps on giving today in the form of Justin Schimpf filing a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit against two men who publicly attacked the project. This story in the Daily Progress this morning. I'll give kudos to Hawes Spencer of the Daily Progress for covering this story. One of the best neighbors a family can ask for, Hawes Spencer. I sincerely mean that. Fortunate to be in the same neck of the woods as this journalist, who, frankly speaking, is probably your top journalist in the community. Daily Progress is lucky to have Hawes Spencer. I hope he hears this commentary. We're going to talk about his reporting in the newspaper today. Justin Schimpf is a mover and shaker. Justin Schimpf, you follow me on Twitter. Someone text Justin Schimpf, DM Justin Schimpf, and let him know we're talking about this story, please. I've, from afar, watched Justin Schimpf as his engineering firm has turned into the firm for bringing development projects to market. News is now papered the trail that he has a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit in the works, and we will break it down. It's a lawsuit tied to the Wendellwood Bo Carrington apartment project on the banks of the Rivanna River, 245 units, where the city came in the bottom of the ninth inning and bought the dirt from Wendell, who made a killing. Per usual, Wendell makes a killing. And caused Bo Carrington, who's come on this program, to pivot in a different direction with this development project. And Mr. Carrington, Bo Carrington, who's a fantastic human, I hope Bo Carrington hears this, is really building his brand and his company. We'll talk about that on today's show. We're going to talk with the Jefferson Council. The Jefferson Council has sent us information in regards to the legal fees the University of Virginia has paid. Legal fees that are beyond expensive. The Jefferson Council sends information to us about a Jewish student who was subjected to repeated anti-Semitic treatment at the University of Virginia. He has settled his lawsuit against the university. The terms of this settlement are unknown, but the legal fees from this case are very well known. We'll talk about these legal fees, and props to the Jefferson Council for highlighting this. Just for the settlement of the case with the Jewish student, McGuire Woods has billed the University of Virginia more than $180,000, including one partner, Jonathan T. Blank, who bills to the tune of $1,054 an hour. I'm going to utilize this storyline and what the Jefferson Council is doing with papering the trail of settlement and legal fees to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. And I think, Judah, it's a fair question. Are we up on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Oh, we are. Thank you. This is the question I have for you. Is anti-Semitic... You got to put behavior in there. You got being overlooked at UVA. Is anti-Semitic behavior being overlooked at UVA? Look, if it was.
You want me to change anti-Semitism to anti-Semitic?
Yeah, I think it should be. The headline should be: Is anti-Semitic behavior being overlooked at UVA? You can leave it like that. It'll work like that as well, Judah. That one's fine. I stand corrected. You had it right. I apologize. Racism of any kind is wrong. Mm-hmm. We can't differentiate with types of racism. We can't drop a hammer when it comes to racism against students of color and then drop a Lego hammer against students that are Jewish. You cannot drop an actual hammer of punishment and accountability when it comes to racism against students of color and then drop a Lego hammer against racism with Jewish students.
Yeah. It
doesn't work that way. And you can make a strong case that the anti-Semitic treatment, the treatment of Jewish students that are facing racism at the University of Virginia are not being treated the same as students of color at the University of Virginia who are facing similar behavior. I want to talk about that on today's program. That is a deep topic for the show that we're going to unpack today. Interesting topic came up on the Jerry and Jerry show this morning featuring Virginia Sports Hall of Famer Jerry Ratcliffe of the namesake website jerryratcliffe.com. Listen to this. Anthony Calandria, the second-year quarterback that was benched right before the Virginia Tech game. Jerry Ratcliffe said on the record on the show this morning was being paid $800,000 to play football for Virginia this past season. $800,000 for a second year at the University of Virginia with mixed results. The team finished 5-7. Calandria in a roller coaster year. That is breaking news from Jerry Ratcliffe on the Jerry and Jerry show. $800,000 for Anthony Calandria. I want to talk about that on today's show. It's a perfect segue into UVA securing two new quarterbacks through the transfer portal, one from North Texas and one from Nebraska. A lot I want to cover on today's program, including the transformation of Cherry Avenue. There are now 4 entities that are talking about running the Anthony Woodard Properties grocery store at the site of the old IGA and Kim's Market. 4 entities are considering running this grocery store. You are seeing that portion of Cherry Avenue, the Tonsler Park portion of Cherry Avenue, that gateway changed dramatically. And how it's changing dramatically is through the manifestation or the creation, the allocation of funds for a low barrier shelter at a thrift store location. Salvation Army's thrift store, we're talking low barrier shelter now, money provided by the city. And a private-public partnership, if you may, with a grocery store at the site of the old Kim's Market. 2 of the most prominent positions on a key gateway, Cherry Avenue, a key corridor, a corridor that frankly is underachieving. This bookend portion of that corridor, this portion of the Tonsler Park portion of that stretch is going to have a low barrier shelter and a grocery store, along with what else Woodard is doing with his housing and his Music Resource Center project. I want to unpack that on today's program, because I think that's a conversation that needs to have. And lastly, the Memphis Tigers visit the John Paul Jones Arena on Wednesday evening, and what is shaping up to be a must-win game if Virginia is going to get into the NCAA tournament. The ACC, as Jerry Ratcliffe said this morning, is down. There's only one team ranked in the coaches poll top 25, and that's Duke. No other team ranked in the top 25. 5 of the top 7 teams in the AP, in the coaches basketball poll, 5 of the top 7 are from the Southeastern Conference. We'll talk about that today on the program as well. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, and then let's give some props to Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. 60 consecutive years in business. Do your shopping at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Support the businesses that you want to see survive another 60 years. Keep the business in the community, the dollars in the community. John and Andrew Vermillion at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply and our friends at Mexicali Restaurant. Have you been to Mexicali yet? Have you? If you have not, you're missing something special. I suggest the spicy margarita, Rivers Concoction. It is fantastic. The Spicy Margarita. It's a street art museum, music venue, cocktail bar, and Latin fusion cuisine, Mexicali restaurant in the old World of Beer location. Good Lord, we are absolutely loaded with content today. Judah Wickhauer, I want to weave you into the program. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts on what we're talking about today. Can I say the project on the banks of the Rivanna River? 245-unit residential development known as Zero East High Street, a partnership with Wendell Wood and Bo Carrington. Justin Schimpf, the engineer, is the gift that keeps on giving.
Seems that way.
Justin Schimpf, the Nelsonian, the engineer who is the market leader at what he does. Justin Schimpf, I hope you're listening to this program, or you have an opportunity to listen to this program. I have watched from afar as your firm, Schimpf Engineering, has done some amazing, amazing work. And if you go to his website, schimpf-engineering.com, and clicked projects, you can see some of the finished projects that he has done. I mean, some of the best. Riverside Village in Albemarle County, Allied Street Urban Mixed Use Project in Charlottesville, the Lake Monticello Fire and Rescue in Fluvanna County. I mean, there's so many significant projects on this list of completed projects. Keswick Hunt Club, the Woolen Mills flood study. I mean, I literally would take me 5 minutes just to rattle off the significance of what he's done. Malloy Ford, the Glenmore Residential Development Golf Course Community in Albemarle County, the Field School of Charlottesville, the middle school, 550 Water Street. I'm just rattling these off from his website. It's impressive, Justin. And Justin, as the Daily Progress highlighted today, became the face of this controversial project. 245 units on the banks of the Rivanna River, a piece of property that was owned by Wendell Wood. Wendell purchased this property decades ago. This property at one time was home to the circus, the traveling circus. It hadn't been used for much of late. And the community took it for granted. as if it was just a piece of Charlottesville spirit, a piece of Charlottesville's identity, almost as if it was a public park. And part of that's Wendell's doing. Wendell said, all right, use the people walking their dogs, people enjoying life, people suntanning and sunbathing, people getting into the river from this parcel. This was privately owned by Wendell.
Yeah.
And Wendell and Bo Carrington, friend of the program, Covenant School graduate, Bo Carrington, stand out at Duke with the lacrosse team, all around good guy, sharply dressed Bo Carrington. I hope he hears that. They want to do a project, and Bo wants to develop the project. 245 units at a time when the community is saying we're starving for housing. The irony here is the community was starving for housing. The community that's pushing a new zoning ordinance through that says we need housing is the same community that took this project, picked it up by its coat and shook it. What was that Henley? It was the Henley principal who got into trouble for essentially assaulting a minor and her family. And what the minor's dad said outside the courtroom to Hall Spencer was she picked the boy up and held him by his neck and then grabbed his cojones so hard.
Wow.
That he was out of breath and in significant pain. That's what the father said to Hall Spencer outside the courtroom with the ex-Henley principal.
Mm-hmm. That was her... that was the kid that had a relationship to her, right?
That was never
somehow
made clear. The scuttlebutt, this is just purely conjecture, it was a son. Strictly scuttlebutt, though.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's what the community did. They Henley principled this project. They found every reason to crush this project. Despite the community saying we need more housing, they found every reason to do the same thing to Chris Henry with Phase 3 Dairy Market, found every reason to do the same thing with the Carlton Mobile Home Project that was going to have housing density at a spot where 63 families called a trailer park their home. Found every reason to crush these projects. The one on High Street, 0 East High Street by the river, it was the environmental concerns. Mm-hmm. It was the flooding concerns. It was the roadway infrastructure concerns. 245 apartments on a road that's 25 miles an hour and only 2 lanes that becomes throttled with traffic on drive-in time and drive-out time by Freebridge. It's a nightmare. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You love the Judah with his extravagant spending and his voracious appetite often finds himself patronizing the Wawa for the made-to-order sandwiches.
And the Guadalajara, right up the street from there, and yeah, I mean,
Riverside, Fabio's, Jack and Jill's, La Michoacana. It's a really underrated culinary quarter. Yeah. I mean, if you think about that culinary quarter, you got Riverside, Fabio's,
yeah, Tubby's,
Jack and Jill's, La Michoacana. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty damn good right there.
Oh yeah, and then you get to the corner, you've got Tacos Gomez.
Oh, the Desayuno de Gomez.
That's across the street.
You got the food truck park.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the food truck park.
Tacos Gomez food truck. Good stuff.
I mean, one of the best culinary quarters right there. That's very underrated culinary quarter.
And then just up the hill, you've got Guadalajara. You've got Tip Top. That's about as far as I ever
May not have the je ne sais quoi and the panache of West Main Street or Downtown Mall, but it's still got some culinary chops nevertheless.
Oh, yeah.
We are getting off track, though. Let's get back to the topic, Justin Ship. Mm-hmm. So he becomes the face of this project. Mm-hmm. And why he becomes the face of the project, because as you learn from his website, when you go to Justin Ship's website and you click the services tab on his website, he's got a cool little infographic that shows the work that he does. Project conception to land planning to site plan and landscape design to site engineering, site approval. Remember site approval. Project administration to project completion. It's kind of the flip book of what he does, services that he provides, right? Site approval's one of the most prominent and front and center ones. That's when you're pitching before council and the planning commission, local government, talking with the media of what the project could be. Mm-hmm. You're answering questions. One of the main questions that he had to answer was 245 apartments in a spot that has generational floods. You talk to the owner of Charlottesville Glass and Mirror. We had the pleasure of chatting with the owner of Charlottesville Glass and Mirror while working with a client. And the owner of Charlottesville Glass and Mirror was a vendor of the client we were representing. I bring up the flooding nature of Zero East High Street. He flat out tells us he remembers when water was feet high over on East High Street. That is a real problem, the flooding. Justin Shipp said he got it figured out, right? He said, we got this figured out. We're not worried about the flooding.
He even filed a change of, I forget what it is, a change, basically said that everything was A-okay.
Everything A-okay. But here he was facing arrows all over the place. He's the man that's the front man from the project. He's getting shot with arrows from the neighborhood association. He's getting shot with arrows by the environmental folks. He's getting shot with arrows by the YIMBYs. He's getting shot with arrows.
YIMBYs or NIMBYs?
The NIMBYs, excuse me. The NIMBYs, getting shot with arrows by the NIMBYs.
Could you say the YIMBYs that were now NIMBYs?
I mean, frankly speaking, the YIMBYs are really NIMBYs. Can you really be a YIMBY if you don't want the project next to you? Like, so many people, it's like the homeless shelter on Cherry Avenue.
We pointed out yesterday that we're all really NIMBYs at heart.
Big go.
When somebody tries to put something in your backyard, you become a NIMBY.
Right. The YIMBYs say, "Oh, let's build it. We need the housing. Let's build it." Don't build it next to me, dude. That's the hypocrisy of the YIMBY mentality. Build the housing, just don't put it next to me. We need the low barrier homeless shelter. You're talking a low barrier homeless shelter on Cherry Avenue? What the hell? I live there. Low barrier means sex offenders and violent criminals and drug and alcohol addicts. Don't put that near me. But I just thought you said last week we needed a homeless shelter. That's fine. Don't put it next to me, though. It's hypocrisy is what it is. But we're getting off track here. So Shipp is speaking before council, the planning commission, talking with the media, becoming the face of the project. It ain't Wendell Wood or Bo Carrington. Wendell Wood, the man on the mountain with his hundreds of millions of dollars. Bo Carrington, the sharply dressed developer who's making a very established name for himself. It's Shipp, the founder and principal of Shipp Engineering.
Because I think at that point in time, the question was, is this actually feasible? And he was the man that was saying it's feasible. In fact, this is what happened. He obtained a federal flood map adjustment 5 months before the plans for the apartment complex were announced. So that was in March of 2022, an adjustment that reset the boundaries of the 100-year floodplain closer to the river and indicated that the development would not increase the height of flood waters by more than a foot. I think this is largely where the tension comes in between Shipp and the two people named in the suit.
You want to unpack that some more? Or you want me to unpack it? You're doing a succinct job. I like when you unpacked it succinctly.
Well, part of the reason he's suing them to the tune of $6.35 million
Justin, that's not pocket change.
Because
Mr. Shipp, that's not pocket change.
Well, he's got some good reasons.
Well, the engineering professor, I think, has got the most exposure here.
Oh yeah.
The attorney that's being sued in this thing said, "Dude, I'm fine."
Yeah.
And he's a freaking attorney. He's like, "I'm fine.
I did everything.
I did it by the book,
above board."
And then the attorney who's getting sued by Shipp said, the media asked the attorney, Hawes asked the attorney, he goes, "Dude, I'm not commenting on that. No comment on that one."
Because the other guy just kept attacking him. They filed, between the two of them, they filed a 636-page complaint to the Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation.
DPOR.
They're essentially saying you should take this guy's engineering degree away, and they filed it 5 days after the city took title of the property. So there wasn't even a question of anyone building these apartments anymore.
Deep throw. I'll get to your comments here in a matter of moments. The UVA professor, the engineering school professor, showed so much moxie and chutzpah with his pursuit of Justin Shimp that he was literally utilizing University of Virginia letterhead.
Yeah. Which made it appear as though he was completely backed by
the engineering school of the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
That right there is...
And if that wasn't bad enough, he also basically said, hey, I'm going to badmouth you to all the engineering students who, of course, would eventually be in possibly some form or another working with or around
Shimp's future colleagues.
Yeah.
Bad-mouthing Shimp to students.
Or at least threatening
about
to do
Shimp's
so.
ethics.
Yeah.
This is a mess.
Pot, meet kettle.
This is a mess. Shimp doesn't strike me as one that you're going to want to meet in a dark alley for a backyard brouhaha. This is a guy who ran for Nelson County Board of Supervisors, a guy who's an entrepreneur who started a business. You don't mess with a lot of people who start businesses from scratch, ladies and gentlemen. They are scrappy son of bitches. Trust me. You're talking to one. You're listening to one right now. Okay? Relentless. So now you got the gift that keeps on giving for a content creator, for you, the viewer and listener, and maybe the gift that keeps on giving for Justin Shimp, a man who charged Mr. Carrington his full freight, his hourly wage, for taking that project as far as he could, before the city gave Wendell a lifeline and just bought floodplain property at market rate. Mm-hmm. Now Shimp could make significant bank through this defamation lawsuit. The cards are playing out on a table. And it looks like, from my standpoint, Mr. Shimp has got pocket aces. And it looks like his opponent's got 2-7 offsuited. You like that? Got a chuckle out of Judah right there. 2-7 offsuited versus pocket ace, it ain't a good thing. Lauren and Ivy says, don't forget the ice cream store and Hogwaller Brewery as well for that culinary corridor. I mean, think about it. That culinary corridor, La Michoacana, Jack and Jill's, Tubby's, Riverside, Fabio's.
Yeah, we did forget Hogwaller.
Hogwaller Brewery.
The
Sugar Bear.
Sugar Bear.
I mean, that is an effing fantastic culinary corridor right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So where do you want to go with this? Do you think the UVA engineering professor is quaking in his boots right now?
I think
As he's screaming, "Oh my Lanta"?
I think he's probably figuring out what he's got to sell to be able to afford a good enough lawyer.
Oh, you think he's pulling a Johnny Dewberry and unloading holdings?
Could be.
With the Dewberry Hotel, who faces, what, a $43 million trademark infringement judgment.
Mm-hmm.
John Blair, I'm going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. In fact, I should lead with John Blair's comments. John Blair is a guy who's in the game when it comes to this. First, Justin Shimp is a fine man, and I cannot imagine he would ever violate his ethical or professional obligations. John Blair also says, second, some bad breaking news for UVA and local fans. Malachi Fields has entered the transfer portal. Great kid, and I'm so sorry to see him leave town. Dang, when did that happen? I didn't even see that. Did that just happen, John Blair? Malachi Fields is in the transfer portal, the Monticello High School graduate? Oh, literally less than an hour ago.
Wow.
It happened after the Jerry and Jerry show. The standout wide receiver who's got NFL potential has entered the transfer portal. He says, peace out, Charlottesville.
Nice knowing you.
I'm Audi 5000, arguably your best offensive player. That ain't good. John Blair, thank you for putting that on my radar. Kevin Yancey said it happened 20 minutes ago. Sugar beans. I'd like to say something else, but my wife chastises me when I use bad words on this show. Oh. This town is crazy. There's gas that's coming from under the dirt that creates Crazy Town, Charlottesville, Virginia.
Something like that.
I'll dot the I's and cross the T's on this before I go to Deep Throat. Deep Throat, you're on deck. Did these folks take it too far with Shimp because of the personal interest piece? They went clearly beyond professional accountability, and it seemed to go into something personal.
What I'm curious about, and does not seem to be explained, is how are Groves and Parrott connected? Groves was the UVA professor, and Parrott was the attorney. Were they in this together, or was Parrott doing this because Groves was paying him to file the complaint to the Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation? Like, what was? I'm mostly just curious how Parrott got involved in this.
Great questions. How about this from Deep Throat? And he's answering your question, Judah. Parrott was a volunteer for the Caroline Street folks fighting against this.
Okay.
He also says, regarding this lawsuit, Deep Throat, you and John Blair make this program legitimately better. You viewers and listeners make this better. Listen to this, a little more color on this story here. Regarding the lawsuit, Justin Shimp better be damn sure of himself here, because he has just opened himself to discovery. James Groves did a ton of work without benefit of discovery. By the way, the funniest part of the article is that Shimp admits he did his ownership of the Nassau Street property when he was doing the floodplain revision for that project. It stayed in Charles Hurt's name through the whole FEMA process. That right there is a great tidbit. Also, under Virginia's SLAPP law, he could be on the hook for the defendant's attorney's fees. And he also, to answer Judah's question, I don't think he was representing Groves or Associated, other than they both had issues with Shimp.
Yeah. Interesting.
Ginny Who says, thank you, Judah Wickhauer, for ordering my cookies. They are in line to be baked this afternoon. Ginny's Delights, the Christmas cookies.
Excellent.
You bought some from her website.
Thank you, yes. And I'm going to buy some more. I just need to get another friend's home address.
Ooh. Very nicely done. Put his money where his mouth is over there.
I ordered some for some friends in Waynesboro. I ordered some for myself, which will be shared with family and some friends once they come. Did you
get the URL out there again so we can give her some props? SageGinny.com. SageGinny. SageGinny.com for the best Christmas cookies I've ever had. Let's get back to the topics at hand, ladies and gentlemen. And Ginny has this comment: look at the hypocrisy of Morgan Benninger automatically being considered guilty while the university drags their feet on anything about Jewish students. That's a point I was going to make. Morgan Benninger, she was the Water Street, the one in the car on Water Street, who may or may not have made a comment to a Charlottesville City employee who was a Charlottesville City truck. This was during the Black Lives Matter movement, and the Charlottesville City employee was sitting in a Charlottesville City truck to protect a Black Women Matter protest. And Morgan made the comment, whether in passing or not in passing, that it's a good thing if this truck was here or these people could become speed bumps. And someone either heard it or overheard it, it's all conjecture or scuttlebutt, got back to Ziana Bryant, and Ziana Bryant tried to bring the entire weight of her Twitter community and the entire weight of a fragile university, a fragile community, a fragile world at this time. She did bring the entire weight against Morgan Benninger and said that she was going to try to kill us with her car if that truck wasn't there.
And the absolutely nuts thing about that whole tragedy, really, because they ruined Morgan Benninger's life, is that there's even a question that you would try to ruin someone's life because they said something, and not even something they said to your face, but something you overheard. That's nuts to me, that people in this day and age actively try to ruin someone's life because of something they overheard.
The cancel culture
That
of 2024.
is disgusting.
It's cancel culture.
That's worse than anything that could have come from Morgan Bettinger if she had truly said something racist. I mean, that's sad.
Judah Wickower, succinct and on point today.
But come on.
Poignant perspective from the jack of all wits, Judah Wickower. Something wrong with that generation, man. And I sound like an old fuddy-duddy right now. I was driving.
I mean, it's not just that generation. We just got done talking about these two older guys, Groves and Parrott, trying to ruin Schimp's career.
Oh, Groves and Parrott clearly had a personal vendetta with this guy.
At least one of them did.
The engineering professor took it entirely too far here.
Yeah.
Entirely too far. And I'm curious if the University of Virginia reprimands the engineering professor for utilizing UVA print letterhead to do some of this filing and some of this attacking.
Yeah.
I was driving a couple weekends ago to a squash tournament in Richmond, doubles tournament with a buddy, also a father of two young kids, inner circle friend of mine. He's sitting shotgun. I'm driving the family Ford Explorer. We got some time away from the wife and the kids over here. And we're talking about the generation that is in college, just finished college, and younger. And that's the generation that had the unfortunate interference of the pandemic and COVID impacting their most impressionable years, where they were forced to desocialize and basically grow into young adulthood over computer screens, as opposed to what humans are supposed to do, buzzing around the world looking for human connection. And we highlighted to that 24 to 36 month period of time where the government basically tried to kibosh or whittle human connection down like a number 2 pencil following the SATs as one of the damning impacts or damning influences for that 22 and under year old, 22 and younger person right now.
Yeah.
Damning. And that's part of this whole cancel culture, screen time, social media. Mike Tyson said, what's the phrase Mike Tyson said? People in this world have gotten used to saying things online that they would never say in person because they know they would get punched in the mouth.
And he did it.
That's what Mike Tyson said.
And then he did it. Punched a guy in the mouth.
I punched more than one guy in the mouth. Dot the I's and cross the T's on the Shimp thing.
Most of them he's wearing gloves for.
This is what I hope. Justin Shimp, you watching the program, this is what I hope from you, Justin Shimp. This is what I hope from you. I hope you keep the community up to speed with how this lawsuit goes. I hope you paper the trail. Come on, Justin Shimp, come on the program.
Yeah.
We would love to host you on the program, Justin Shimp, to talk about this. We will offer you a massive microphone and platform for you to discuss how you feel you were wronged by these two folks. And I think you have a lot of merit with what you are doing here. I appreciate the willingness to fight back, to stand for your beliefs, and I think that's what he's doing here.
He's also fighting for his good name.
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. I appreciate that. Neil Williamson says, get off my lawn. Jerry Miller to the 22 and under year olds. Neil Williams. Georgia Gilmer watching the program. Sage Ginny, the link is being shared on the comments section of my Facebook page. SageGinny.com, SageGinny.com. When those orders come in, you should post them. No charge marketing and advertising for her on the I Love CVille network across all our social media channels with a gateway link to her website. I want to flood Ginny with so many orders that she's going to be baking. She's not going to be sleeping until 2025. This is what we did with the A Squared pizza guy, with Andy Argaud, who was selling his Detroit-style pizza through Instagram. He dropped some of that pizza off at our house. This was, I think, when you were on vacation, when intern Joey Rifkin took place for you, filled in for you. He dropped some of his Detroit-style pizza off at our studio, and we pumped him on IG. He said he had orders for half a year from what we did to him. Ginny, we can do the same thing to you. The Scuttlebutt in town has Andy Argaud, the Almora High School graduate, who played basketball for Greg Maynard, Almora High School. He also played football, I believe, for Rick Verhoeven, talented tight end and defensive end, Andy Argod. The Scuttlebutt has him opening a brick and mortar location in town, A Squared Pizza, Detroit style pizza.
Nice.
That's the Scuttlebutt.
I've never had it. I don't even know what Detroit style is.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it's basically
So
like
different
deep
styles.
dish style.
Okay.
It was damn good pizza. It's some of the best pizza I've had. It was excellent pizza. What's the next headline? Judah B. Wickhauer, jack of all trades, jack of all wits.
Let's see. We've got the Cherry Avenue transformation. We've got the student threatening Charlottesville High School.
Let's go to the Cherry Avenue transformation. There goes from crickets to now Charlottesville Tomorrow is reporting 4 groups interested in running the grocery store that Woodard wants to build on Cherry Avenue. The 4 groups are First Good Foods Grocery, which is a natural food store in Richmond that opened in 1985. The second group is, and you're going to have to help me with this name, is it Laziz Fresh Produce?
Yeah, Laziz. Aren't they the ones that took over the...
No, that's not the people that took over...
A different Laziz?
That's not the people that took over the Red Pump Kitchen. Laziz Fresh Produce is a Charlottesville-based produce stand that is currently a vendor at the city market. The one you're talking about actually had their first start in Richmond as a restaurant. This is a farmer's market stand that's looking to scale or level up. Then there's the one that really I find intriguing, the Goodwill Industries of Valleys. Goodwill. This is Goodwill.
Yeah.
They open a grocery store of similar ilk in Roanoke.
Yeah.
And then you have a newly formed local co-op steering committee, which is trying to potentially envision this grocery management as a co-op or a cooperative.
Yeah.
Of the 4, it would strike me that Goodwill would be the best fit, considering they have proof of performance, considering Goodwill is backed by infrastructure and institutional experience.
Yeah.
That's just me talking here. Anthony Woodard Properties, great people, are saying that they're going to build a shell for the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then the grocery outfitter has to outfit the rest of the store, manage it, and run it, but they'll give them the shell.
Mm-hmm.
The shell's expensive as all get out, by the way. It's like millions of dollars to build the shell.
$3 million?
You're looking at Cherry Avenue that's close to being completely reimagined over the next handful of years.
I think that's great.
A low-barrier shelter where the Salvation Army thrift store is, housing and the Music Resource Center, and a grocery store where the Kim's Market is. Woodard owns a lot of Cherry Avenue. I believe owns the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center, if memory serves correct. Mm-hmm. You're looking at one of the most underachieving yet significant upside stretches of roadway in the city of Charlottesville and Cherry Avenue. I seriously mean that. I have compared Cherry Avenue and East High Street as the most underachieving but having significant upside of any stretches in the city. And interestingly, Cherry Avenue dominated by one family, East High Street dominated by another family. The Cosner family dominating East High Street with their ownership stake and their positions on East High Street, including where Cosner Brothers is, including that extremely valuable empty parking lot where the food trucks park. I mean, good God, what could be built there? Charging, the word on the street I hear from the food truck owners themselves, an incredibly nominal daily fee to park there. We're talking $20, $30 a day just to park there. Very cheap.
I appreciate a business like that.
Very cheap to park there. 2 of the most underachieving stretches of real estate in the city are each dominated by one family. The Woodards on East High, and the Woodards on Cherry, and the Cosners on East High. Mm-hmm. Very interesting comparison there. Currently, you would probably say what? That East High is further along in its development than Cherry, but Cherry's closing the gap quickly. If Cherry takes the grocery store, the Kim's Market site, and they get a grocery store there, the Music Resource Center, the nonprofit there, and they build housing there, that changes it dramatically. Does a low barrier homeless shelter create value for that stretch? Or does it take value from that stretch?
I don't know that it creates a whole lot of value, but I don't know that it removes a whole lot either. I would think that most of the movement would be most of the movement to and from the shelter would be out to Fifth Street rather than further along into Cherry. But I could be completely wrong about that.
Deep Throat says Goodwill, of those four, has the most promise because they have deep pockets and you could see why they would want to give the grocery segment a try. My Facebook comments are blowing up right now and I'm having a hard time keeping up, frankly. Kevin Yancey says Cherry Avenue has been stigmatized for decades. Absolutely, it's been stigmatized for decades. 100%. Unfairly stigmatized for decades. Unfairly stigmatized for decades.
Yeah.
But absolutely, you're right, stigmatized.
Yeah, I think Police Chief Mike Conscious said it best that he was talking about zooming in on areas where there are problems and then zooming in further because it's never.
He said with West Haven, the West Haven project, that there was 5 houses caused all the trouble in West Haven.
Yeah.
He was working with CRHA to say if these people keep causing trouble, they get booted from West Haven. West Haven's the last spot on the housing ladder.
But yeah, his implication was that most areas are like that. That it's not, it's not like you've got neighborhoods of bad apples. It's one or two that spoil the basket, and the rest are just normal people like the rest of us.
Ginny Who says you guys are giving us happy tears, giving her happy tears. I'm so incredibly grateful. I welcome no sleep until 2025. SageGinny.com, the best Christmas cookies you will ever have. We should weave her into the branding position in the show somehow, too. The transformation of Cherry Avenue is happening before our eyes.
I hope so.
If one of these 4 groups steps up, the groceries, in a lot of ways, the front-facing anchor of that Woodard project.
The rug that
we know the low barrier shelter is going to happen, unless public outcry gets so loud that it keeps it from happening. But I don't see that materializing. Right? Next headline is the anti-Semitism that some students are experiencing on grounds at the University of Virginia. The Jefferson Council sent this our way. Jude, I really want your take on this here. A student by the last name Goldstein, how do you think you say his first name? Matan? M-A-T-A-N?
Yeah, probably Matan.
Matan Goldstein, the Jewish student who was subjected to repeated anti-Semitic treatment at the University of Virginia, has settled his lawsuit against the university. Terms of the settlement, the Jefferson Council reports, were not revealed, but we now know UVA's legal fees from this case. UVA racked up $521,000 in legal fees from July to September. Keep in mind that legal fees are often a fraction of the settlement amount, the Jefferson Council says. We are keeping our fingers crossed that Jerry Miller now discusses this on the I Love CVille show this week. And they also thank Ginny Who for suggesting this as a topic for the show. Then they encourage the viewers and listeners to read Jim Bacon's article, Racking Up the Fees, on the Jefferson Council website. We want to crowdsource content on the show. Someone we trust, Ginny Who, suggested this as a show topic, sent it our way. I found it compelling. Frankly, I found it sad. And I said, we're going to talk about it. And the Jefferson Council's amplifying the fact that we're going to talk about it. I want to link this story with the student at the University of Virginia, Robert Romer, who earlier this year, we're talking about a month ago, Robert Romer, the 20-year-old second-year student, charged the 1st of November with threatening his housemate and brandishing a firearm at a former fraternity house where they both live. Hall Spencer also reporting this. He's just a great guy. Love Hall Spencer. The aggravated housemate, who the Daily Progress chose not to use his name, said that they were using anti-Semitic memes against me. One of the students approached the other Jewish student and brandished a gun, threatened him. Anti-Semitic behavior left and right. I ask this question on the show. I also, before I ask the question, want to highlight the fact that the Jefferson Council shares the receipts of the legal fees. For example, the McGuire Woods law firm, they paid $180K. They showed a screenshot of what the invoices look like for McGuire Woods. I've retweeted all of this on my Twitter account at Jerry Miller Now. I encourage you to follow me on Twitter, Jerry Miller Now on Twitter. I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jerry Miller Now. I'm going to ask a very straightforward question that's going to make a lot of folks uncomfortable, but it's a question that needs to be asked. Is anti-Semitism being overlooked at the University of Virginia? And is anti-Semitism being treated differently than racism against students of color?
Yeah.
Isn't all racism the same? Or is it all the same? Or is it not all the same at UVA? That's an uncomfortable topic. But there's starting to be a track record or a precedent that shows that anti-Semitic, is it such a thing as anti-Semitic racism?
I mean, I would say that there aren't really different flavors of racism, just...
Anti-Semitic racism versus racism on skin color?
I mean, it exists. I don't know if are you saying that, do we give them different names?
Do they have to? I'm sincerely asking. Do they have to? I'm sincerely asking. Do not know. Do they have different names?
I don't know if there's anything official.
I genuinely do not know. But I am asking this question. Is it being handled differently?
Oh, definitely.
Is it being handled differently?
There were numerous articles that came out earlier this year surrounding the pro-Palestine protests. Pro-Palestine protests.
Pepper spraying protest. Pickle.
They weren't all pepper sprayed, but there was a lot of this going on. There were a lot of articles coming out, and perhaps a little too on the nose. I brought some of those articles up, and we never talked about them because it wasn't. Perhaps it just wasn't time yet. But yeah, this has been written about for months, at least in our area, and I think people definitely see it differently. There's certainly not the protections afforded to other students at UVA, and it sounds as though maybe that's going to change.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is terrible. It's terrible. If we can point legitimately to racism being managed and handled and held accountable in different fashions or having different reactions, then we got a serious issue on our hands. Serious issue. And the Jefferson Council is pointing to that. It's pointing to that.
Yeah, I mean, is the point of them bringing this to our attention to show that, or just bringing this to the public's attention, the fact that the university would rather spend
$521,000 in legal fees
just to fight this?
To fight this or to settle it out of the public eye?
Well, they definitely settled, but they also spent $500,000 fighting it.
I'll ask you a very pointed question before we move on. There was a UVA student who was Jewish who was living in an old fraternity house, and other students living in the same old fraternity house pointed a gun at the student because he was Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? I want to ask you this question, Judah. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
If that same student who had a gun pointed at him was Hispanic or black, what would the reaction be? How much different would it be? What kind of lightning in a bottle would it create? What kind of fragility would it create on grounds? What kind of protests would manifest if it was that scenario? What would it have done to Greek life?
Oh, man. You want
to think about that. A male Jewish student had a gun pointed at himself in his home by other students.
Mm-hmm.
And it flew under the radar.
It's amazing that it flew under the radar, considering the fact that they all too recently had an inquisitor who was seemingly dead set on taking out as many fraternities as he could, right?
Yeah. A middle management dean.
You would think that this was prime fuel for the crusade he was on, but nothing. Instead, what was it that caused him to blow up? It was what? A kid getting slightly injured during hazing.
It's banana. They did wall sits and push-ups and had to carry around a pledge pack.
And that got more attention than, as you said,
a kid being
a Jewish student having a gun pointed at him.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That's crazy.
And I think it points to the fact that it's not just, it's not just students. The anti-Semitism is not just stemming from young, stupid people, but potentially from who knows how much of the actual university at large.
2024, ladies and gentlemen, the world we live in. Other headlines on the docket. What do you have as you put the lower thirds on screen?
We've got
Calandria, 800K. Is that what's next?
And is Memphis a must-win?
All right, I'll talk briefly on the Memphis game. Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers come to the John Paul Jones Arena on Wednesday night for a 7 o'clock tip-off that's airing on national TV on ESPN2. The Tigers are a top 25 team. You can make a legitimate argument that this is a must-win game for UVA as it tries to build its NCAA tournament resume because the Atlantic Coast Conference is down. It only has one team ranked in the top 25 right now. So it needs quad one wins or top-tier wins. Memphis may be one of the last top-tier victories it could have on its resume as it tries to build a case to go to the big dance. That's why some are calling this must-win. Also because the fan base is starting to waver or splinter on its support of the team and the head coach, Ron Sanchez, who has the interim title. That's it succinctly of why this could be a must-win game. I also heard breaking news today on the Jerry and Jerry Show, Tuesdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. Jerry Ratcliffe, the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer and the owner of JerryRatcliffe.com, the publisher, said he's been told, and he has it on extremely good faith, that Anthony Calandria was being paid $800,000 to be the quarterback of UVA football. $800,000 this past season, ladies and gentlemen. $800K for a 5-7 performance. He ended up getting benched by Virginia Tech. He ended up getting benched before the Virginia Tech game by Tony Elliott. And he has now entered the transfer portal where he's being rumored and linked to Ole Miss University. He's also being rumored to Syracuse and Pittsburgh, but the Ole Miss link is the one that's got the most traction right now. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. $800K.
They're offering him a lot more than that.
800K, Ole Miss will pay him a lot more than 800K, 100%. 100%. 800K for a 5-7 performance where he started 11 games and was benched for the last game. And then the day the season ended, a few days after the season ended, he pieces out of Dodge and says, I'm going somewhere else. And the news just broke, thanks to John Blair on the show, that Malachi Fields, the Monticello High School graduate, has now entered the transfer portal. This was the best offensive player on the roster for Virginia this past year. So the Malachi Fields transfer news is a gut punch for a guy that was a physical 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver that had all the physical tools of playing on Sunday. The I Love CVille show on a Tuesday afternoon. Judah Wickower on point, back-to-back days for the Jack of all wits, carrying the load today. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.